All right, so something came to my attention. So the Deadpool 3 news I will get to tomorrow. But information about at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 there was a title card that said um the legendary Star-Lord will return, which got people thinking, oh, that he's going to appear in the next Avengers movies, either one or both, being Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. But now we're hearing from James Gunn that that wasn't exactly the plan. I mean, hopefully he does show up in those movies because I don't see why he shouldn't. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of the character, but I don't watch Guardians of the Galaxy. But it turns out James Gunn was talking with Chris Pratt, and they were thinking of a Star Lord movie, and it would basically be how he deals with modern Earth because he hadn't been to Earth since the 80s. Um, and how he would relate to modern Earth. Because let's face it, a lot has changed, at least for those of us who were alive during the 80s. We're aware of how much things have changed. All you have to do is look at your children who were born after the 80s. I mean, the 80s and later, and see how much they're like, huh? Like, I remember just just a slight tangent. I remember when I was in grad school, I was talking with an undergrad, and this was already years ago. And he was talking about the history of music. So I asked him, he was talking about different technology in the history of music. So I asked him if they were learning about 8 tracks. He had no clue what an 8 track was. Now, this is something that happened in the 70s, early 80s. So it's possible Star Lord is familiar with 8 tracks, but he wouldn't. People born after that, they would have no clue what an 8 track tape is, and um, so it doesn't take much. There's quite a bit of technology that you're like, wait, what? I had a coworker who didn't realize that those hard disks that are still called floppy disks, yes, I know they don't even exist anymore. So if you get old enough, people are still like, what are you talking about? But there used to be hard disks, and people would refer to them as floppy disks. And people who were born, and she was born in 89. She she I taught her that they were called floppy disks because they used to be a lot bigger and they were indeed floppy. So that's why they were called floppy disks. And so technology has changed so much since the 80s. And that's in the real world. God knows what it would be like in the Marvel universe. So, yeah, there would be a lot to contend with. Now, do I consider a fish out of water type of story with Star Lord to be compelling enough? Probably not. I mean, if that was a part of it, but that he had to fight a bad guy, you know, that would be the main part, all the while trying to figure out how to live in this world. Then that might be somewhat interesting. But again, Never was a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, so never watched any of the movies. The only thing I have any knowledge of is the way they were portrayed in the Avengers movie, which, according to James Gunn, he would not have made Star-Lord um so frustratingly dumb. This idea that it was because of him that they didn't stop Thanos when they almost did, because he was more interested in Gamora than, stopping Thanos. So maybe what I saw isn't what I would have seen, that I would have probably enjoyed the Guardians more in their actual movie. But yeah, be that as it may, they do want to create, they were thinking about creating a movie. And from what James Gunn said, obviously he's no longer part of Marvel. He's now the bigwig at DC. So I can't imagine they would allow him to do any Marvel projects. That last he heard that that's something that they're exploring, and that it could be either a movie or a Disney Plus series, and which now that also says a lot, because James Gunn had said that he would be interested in grabbing some Marvel actors and bringing them to DC. Now, if they were to do, say, a Disney Plus series or even a movie around Star-Lord, would Chris Pratt do both DC and Marvel at the same time? So that might take him out of the running of doing DC. I've heard people suggesting he would do great Booster Gold. So that adds to Marvel's decision making. Does Chris Pratt want to just do Marvel? Or would he be allowed to do both? And in this day and age, he probably would be allowed to star in both movies simultaneously, both franchises. Let's see if there's anything else to say about that. But anyway, I've been rambling on, so I'd like to hear from you guys. Would you like to see a Star-Lord centric movie or Disney Plus series? Do you think that there's actually a story there beyond just a fish out of water type project? Because I can't see, well, I guess if they wanted comedy strictly for comedy's sake and have absolutely no discernible plot, if that's their idea, then yeah, I guess that would make a compelling movie. I just don't know how many Marvel fans would want to see Star-Lord derfing through life with no discernible end goal. Besides, figuring out what the hell he's doing. But I guess if you want to say that that was loosely what Guardians of the Galaxy was all about, was Star-Lord derfing through life trying to figure out how to survive, then I guess it would work. But no, that's a very loose interpretation, very, very loose interpretation of what the Guardians movies were about. But anyway, like I said, I've been rambling on. So just let me know, do you want to see a project strictly based on Star-Lord? And with that, I will stop talking. And I will see you guys in the next video.